Hey everyone, Russell Frazier here with BigActionPlans.com. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to turn an idea into action. I've got a 4-step process that I've used for probably 15 years on different projects ranging from construction projects to web design projects, launching a new business, coming up with a new product, all kinds of things. And this 4-step process that I'm going to describe is kind of universal. You can use it for all kinds of things. And so I'd love to talk to you about that a little bit. And why don't we get right into it? So again, we're talking about how to turn ideas into action. And step number 1 is discover. And we'll get into the details of each one of these steps. Step number 2 is determine. Step number 3 is decide. And finally, number 4, deploy. So as we talk about this, just think about, all of us have ideas at one time or another. You might have an idea to start a business. You might have an idea for a new product. Maybe you've got something going on at work, a big project that you're working on, and you need to figure out where to start. This kind of gives you a roadmap for where to start and how to flesh out what you're actually going to do. So let's start with the step number 1, discover. What I do is I start with the big picture, literally. This is where you sketch out your idea and use things like, I'm using a program right now to show you what I'm talking about. It's called XMind, and it's basically mind mapping software where you can lay out different thoughts and ideas and kind of form an outline of what you're thinking about, more in a visual format. Sometimes you can do it on paper if you're just starting with an outline in Microsoft Word or something like that. But I find that it's really helpful to actually sketch it out. If you need to, you can actually get a pen and paper out and actually draw pictures, which if you're working on something in construction or things like that, that's very helpful. But literally sketch it out. After you've sketched out some initial ideas, phone a friend, get them involved, ask them to take a look at what you've started with and get their ideas, talk to them about what you're thinking about and get their input. And this is where your idea begins to take shape. The whole idea of the discovery process is trying to get the random components out of your head and onto paper so you can start to lay out an outline of what you're going to do. Next is step number 2 is determine. This is where you figure out all the details. So you've got to dig in. You've got to dig into the different headings and components of what you're thinking about doing and start to figure out details. Things like, who are you serving? If you're starting a new business, you want to know who your customer is, who your ideal customer is. So you think about who they are, what do they need, what do they want, what are their cares and concerns. Especially if you're starting a business or coming up with a new marketing campaign, a new product. You want to know your customer and your potential customer inside and out. This is also during the determination phase, you are figuring out the individual components of the plan. So you're really getting into the nitty-gritty details after you've kind of sketched out the big picture and coming up with detailed components. After you've got an outline, kind of a general outline for what you want to do, it's time to decide. And first, if you're going to take on any project, whether it's launching a business, launching a product, going through a big growth phase for your company, maybe even if you're a salesman and you have, you want to take your sales to the next level, first you have to decide to follow through, because nothing's going to happen if you don't decide. And you need to set aside time. Setting aside time means that you are actually going to set aside time to do the actions required to follow through on your idea. And one thing that works really well for me is to actually put things into the schedule, because what gets scheduled gets done. And if you don't actually put time into your schedule to do the actions, then you're probably just gonna, it's probably just gonna remain an idea and it won't come into action. And hire outside resources if necessary. Especially if you're working on a big project, sometimes you need to hire outside contractors. Could be a video person, could be a web developer, could be someone to teach you some things. And this is part of the process of turning something into action. Finally, step number 4 is deploy. This is where you actually do it. This is where you act and make it happen. You go to work, dig in and do it. Part of the deploy process is you install systems, habits, and procedures. If you have something that you're launching, you want to try to systematize a lot of the activities and actions so that you can be consistent. And consistency oftentimes produces results, where if you just kind of throw things at the wall hoping something sticks without really being consistent, you may not see the success you want. Be persistent when you're in the action phase, because roadblocks are going to come. You're going to have discouragement is going to try to creep in. You will have some failures along the way. You're going to have to test and see what works, see what doesn't work. And finally, refine along the way. Part of launching something new is you need to test things out and just get started, get something done. And you can always refine and adjust your approach, change things up a little bit. So, and I'd like to show you an example of something that we recently did for a client. So we had a client that was wanting to launch a sales training course for not only his salesmen, but he's also wanting to sell this sales training to other companies. So I started just like I described in the first step, is to discover. I wanted to get some ideas down on paper, so we talked about it and we started to lay this out. This is in Xmind, mind you, but I'll show you kind of what we laid out. We started with salesman training. That's kind of the main subject, and we literally laid out an outline for how we were going to develop his sales training course. Now this looks big, but this is the beauty of doing things in pictures when you start, is I literally started at the top and I said, okay, we've got courses, modules, lessons, and points within the lesson. And we just started laying it out to figure out what we were going to talk about, what the courses were going to be, what the lessons would be, and what points within the lessons, or what the points within the lessons would be. As you can see, after several hours of working on this, we came up with a pretty extensive outline of things that we'd be talking about. Now, so that was during the discovery process and the determination process, and then we had to decide, and so we decided, we put it on the schedule. And we put it on the schedule, and then we hired a camera crew to come in, and here's kind of what we did to start.
In
filming.
All right, guys, so you're knocking on the door, and the number one rule in our business, guys, is to be agreeable. To be agreeable, always, always, always be agreeable. For example, lady, you knock on the door, and the lady says she needs to talk to her husband. So you know what? That's a great idea. Okay, that's being agreeable. If she says, you know what, I need to talk to my husband, say, no, you don't. It'll be okay. She's going to slam the door.
So that's where we actually filmed the training sessions. We did 100 videos in 2 days. I think that was pretty successful. One reason it was so successful is because we were organized and we had things laid out and knew what we were going to do. Wanted to also show you what the video ended up looking like, or one of the final videos looks like. Oh, here it is. So here's one of the videos that came out of that. This is actually a recruiting video that came out of those 2 days of filming, but let's take a peek.
Alright, I'm Justin Wright, and I've created Roofing Life, y'all. And it's not just about selling roofs, it's about a lifestyle. How you can have everything you've always wanted in your life. That time with your family. Go on fishing trips and skiing trips and go surfing. And be your own boss and set your own schedule. But guess what? You're not going to be alone. You're going to have our team stand behind you to give you the tools, the training, the technology, and the coaching that you need to take your life.
Technical difficulties. Anyway, the whole point of that was to show you kind of full circle that was an example of taking an idea, sales training, sales recruiting, things like that, laying it out into the individual components of what you need to do to make it happen, and then actually seeing the finished results. So anyway, that is what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. And I did want to put a little plug for bigactionplans.com. What we've done is we've taken complex marketing plans to help people grow their companies, and we break them down into bite-sized components so that you can market your business efficiently and effectively online. We also build websites and online businesses from scratch. So if you know anyone that is looking for something along those lines, then please put them in touch with us. And thanks again for joining us. Have a great day.